Welcome to Sajine Clarity Podcast, a space to explore your clarity journey from survival to authenticity. I'm Sajine, and here we dive into the raw truths of breaking free from the expectations we've grown up with, rediscovering our voices, and thriving after life's challenges. But this isn't just about my story, it's about life, from relationships and self-discovery to messy, beautiful questions we all face. No topic is off limits here, so if you're ready to embrace courage, healing, and living life on your own terms, you're in the right place. Let's connect. Let's grow. Welcome to the journey. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. I'm not a licensed therapist, counselor, or medical professional, and the content shared here is based on personal experiences and insights. If you're facing significant challenges, please seek the support of a qualified professional. Remember, your journey is unique, and you deserve the care and guidance that's right for you. Well, welcome. I am super excited to have you here today. Today's podcast is called The Choice They Wanted You to Make, Learning How Influence Works so you can take your power back. Have you ever looked back at a decision you made and thought, why did I choose that? Maybe at the time it seemed like your only option. Maybe somebody presented you with 2 or 3 choices. Maybe they convinced you that one option was better. Maybe you were trying to keep the peace. Maybe you were afraid of what would happen if you said no. Or maybe you were simply trying to survive. And years later, you look back and realize, wait a minute, was that actually what I wanted? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sajine, and today we're talking about something I've been thinking about lately, learning how people work. I've been reading the 48 Laws of Power book. Now, I know it's a very double-edged sword book, but hear me out. And I want you to make something very clear. I'm not reading this book because I want to learn to manipulate people. Quite the opposite. I'm interested in understanding the patterns because sometimes learning how something works gives you the ability to recognize it when it is happening to you. And when you spent a significant amount of your life in survival mode, recognizing those patterns can be incredibly powerful. Because once you can see something, you have another opportunity. You can choose differently. Today, we're going to talk about influence, manipulation, choices, survival, boundaries, self-trust, and one of the most powerful things you can learn. You don't have to participate in every conversation designed to change your mind. Oh my goodness. I'm excited. The more I read into it, I have to study it and I don't know, take it apart for what it is trying to tell me. And I've come up with some really great things that I believe will help you out. Section 1. Knowledge isn't manipulation. It can be protection. There's a difference between learning how manipulation works and becoming a manipulator. Think about it this way. If you learn how a scam works, that doesn't mean you're learning how to scam people. You're learning how to recognize the scam. The same thing can happen with human behavior. When you understand certain patterns, you may begin noticing things you previously couldn't see. You might recognize guilt. You might recognize pressure. You might recognize someone creating false urgency. You might recognize somebody presenting you with choices where every option benefits them. And that awareness gives you something incredibly important. A pause. That pause matters because manipulation often works best when you react quickly. I've seen it. Remember, if they're pushing you that instant that you make a decision without you even thinking about it, that's a red flag right there. When you're emotional, when you're afraid, when you're confused, when you feel like you have to answer immediately. When somebody has convinced you that their problem has suddenly become your emergency, but when you understand the pattern, you can stop and say, wait, I don't have to answer this right now. That is power. Not power over another person, power of your own response. And that's the kind of power I want to talk about. The thing is, even like at work, I do not answer right away. Why? Because I have my own responsibilities that I have to get to and my own choices that I have come about. When somebody comes and tries to make their emergency yours, when you're looking at it and it's really not an emergency, oh no, I've put in a 24-hour service delivery time. I will go ahead, review your information, and get back to you within 24 hours. And that's what I do. If it's going to take me a little bit longer, then I will go ahead and communicate that. Because the thing is, come on. Some people just don't organize their things the way that they should, or they feel like they need to push something or impose something on you. That's not okay. Set up your boundary. Section 2. When your choices aren't really your choices. One of the things I find fascinating about influence is that manipulation doesn't always look like control. Sometimes it looks like freedom. Someone might say, you can either do this or you can do that. And technically, you have a choice. But what if both choices lead to the outcome they want? What if the real choice, the one they don't want you to consider, is neither? Me, I've done that. I'm like, no, those things are not going to work for me. I'm going to have to think about it and I'll get back to you. Or I present it with other options, because why not? Don't let people confuse you or get you in there, One that's really notorious on that one is if you would have to go to court, or you're at school, or you're with a partner, purchasing a car, house, you name it. They'll present you with two options, and you can say, no, I have a third option. That is, no, neither, I'll think about it, or something else. You have the power for yourself. That's something I want you to think about, because sometimes we're so focused on choosing between the options somebody gives us that we forget we can create another option. Maybe you don't have to choose A. Maybe you don't have to choose B. Maybe the answer is, I'm not participating. That's completely different kind of thinking. And this is where clarity becomes so important. Instead of asking, which option do they want me to choose? Ask, what would I choose if I were completely free to decide? That's a different question. And sometimes the answer surprises you. Yeah, just go for it. Choose what you want. Why? Because if you choose wrong, you learned a lesson. See what you can pivot for next time. You're going to be okay. Section 3. Survival can make us choose differently. This is an especially important part of this conversation, because I don't want us to look backward and shame ourselves for decisions we made when we didn't have the same awareness we have today. Sometimes you weren't weak. Sometimes you weren't stupid. Sometimes you weren't incapable of making decisions. Sometimes you were surviving. That survival is so important. When your nervous system is focused on getting through the day, your choices can become very different. You might choose peace over truth. You might choose silence over confrontation. You might choose keeping somebody happy over keeping yourself happy. You might choose whatever prevents the next explosion. And sometimes that was the smartest thing you knew how to do at that time. So healing doesn't mean going backward and attacking the person you used to be. It means going backward with compassion and saying, I understand why you made that choice. And then asking, do I still need to make that choice today? That's where growth happens, because the goal isn't to punish yourself for surviving. The goal is to recognize that you may have options now that you didn't have before. This goes especially to my fellow people who were in toxic relationships, and the reasonings why you chose is because you were trying to survive. And then you have the people who come in and shame you, saying, oh, well, if you knew that, why didn't you leave? Or if it happened to me, I wouldn't have taken that. Well, you know what? You were not there, because I really do believe that human beings are here to survive, but we're here to thrive, right? But when we're in survival mode, we are thinking a million things per minute to see how we can get out unscathed. Section 4. Compare their desired outcomes with yours. Here's something practical you can begin doing. When you feel pressured to make a decision, step back. Write down, what do I want? Then write, what do they want? Don't judge either answer. Just observe. What happens when you put the two sides, the sides side by side? Sometimes you discover that your goals are completely different, and that's okay. Someone else wanting something doesn't automatically make their desire more important than yours. You're allowed to have a different answer. You're allowed to disappoint someone. And you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say, that doesn't work for me. And you don't have to prove that your decision is reasonable enough for somebody else to approve it. That's something many people have to learn. After living in environments where every decision was questioned, you don't need permission to have preferences. You don't need permission to have boundaries. And you don't need permission to choose a life that makes sense to you. See, the thing is, like today, when I went out to an open market today, I really like these blankets. And I was like, okay, well, I figured the pricing wasn't bad. And it's homemade. I don't mind paying for it. I asked them if they had a certain payment option. And they say no, they didn't have it. And I said, oh, okay. They told me the only option that they have. And I was like, I don't have that one either. So then they introduced me to their website. And I said, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll just go to your website and then I will make my selection there and then order it from there. And then I was just sitting out there with family members. And then all of a sudden, that vendor came up and said, hey, how about this and that? And I was like, oh, no. I'm like, I don't have that. And she was like, oh, okay. But I said, but that's why I told you I will go ahead and look at your website and then make a determination from there. And then she walked away, right? The thing is after a while, I'm glad I didn't make that decision, or who knows why it didn't work out. When I thought about it, in my head, I was like, maybe I don't want it anymore, which I was happy, that it didn't work out, but it was my decision, right? And I was able to choose what I wanted, and I can change my mind. So keep going. Section 5. Sometimes you don't need to explain. One of the biggest lessons I'm learning is that sometimes explanation isn't communication. Sometimes explanation becomes an invitation. You explain why you don't want to do something, they argue with reason. Right? So you give another reason. They argue with that. You explain even more. And suddenly you're defending a decision that was yours to make in the first place. That's exhausting. So what I've been doing is I will actually think about things before I even do it. And I will give my answer in a professional corporate type of scenario. And it leaves it where there is no reasoning with it. You're not going to go back and forth. And I've had the points where I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do agree with you. I said, but at this time, I'm going to do this. And then I walk away. I'm not going to be playing anybody's game. Why? Because if you're a recovering people pleaser, they will convince you to do something that you don't want. And then you end up hating yourself after. Whew, that's a lot. And it can create another opportunity for somebody to find that opening that gets you to change your mind. Sometimes a healthier response is incredibly simple. No. Or that doesn't work for me. Or I've made my decision. You don't have to turn your boundary into a courtroom case. And if somebody refuses to respect your answer, that tells you something. Your boundary doesn't necessarily need a better explanation. Their behavior may simply be giving you more information. Yeah, if they are not going to respect you, walk away. That is the biggest red flag. You have found somebody who's really toxic, and they're never going to have anything for you to be well-being, right? Transition to many things that we have in our lives. So let's talking about that. How about we... Before we move into our guided meditation, I want to take a breath. We're going to practice something very simple. We're going to separate what I want from what someone else wants from me. We're going to remind ourselves that we can pause, we can observe, we can choose, and we can walk away. So go ahead, get into a comfortable position wherever you want. Lay down, sit on a sofa, have your tea with you, whatever you need, so we can move into our new transition here. comfortable position, you can sit or lie down. Let your hands rest comfortably. And if it feels safe and comfortable, gently close your eyes. Take a slow breath in. Slow breath out. Again, breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Inhale and release. You don't have to solve anything right now. You don't have to make a decision. You don't have to explain yourself. For the next few minutes, you simply get to be here. Bring your attention to your body. Notice where you're holding tension. Maybe your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach, your hands. You don't have to force the tension away. Just notice. And as you breathe, remind yourself, I'm allowed to pause. Now imagine standing in front of a series of doors. Each door represents a choice. Some of these choices may be things you've been told you should want. Some may be things someone else wanted for you. Some may represent decisions you made because you were afraid. And some represent what you genuinely want. You don't have to walk through any door right now. Just observe. Now ask yourself quietly, what do I actually want? Don't force an answer. Let whatever comes up, come up. Maybe you hear an answer immediately. Maybe you don't. That's okay. You're practicing listening to yourself. Now ask, what have I been choosing because I was afraid of someone else's reaction? Again, don't judge yourself. Just notice. You survived those moments the best way you knew how. You don't have to shame that person you were. You can thank that version of yourself. Say silently to yourself, thank you for getting me here. Now take another breath and ask, what would I choose if I knew I was allowed to disappoint someone? Let that question sit. You're allowed to have wants. You're allowed to have preferences. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to choose something simply because it's right for you. Now imagine somebody placing a choice in front of you. You feel the old urge to explain, to justify, to convince. To make sure they understand. But instead, imagine yourself taking one step backward. You breathe and you say, no, that doesn't work for me. Notice how that feels. You don't need to fight, yell, or convince. You simply know your answer. Now repeat silently, I can pause before I answer. I can think before I choose. Someone else's preference does not automatically become my responsibility. I'm allowed to make decisions on what is right for me. I trust myself to learn. And now think about one decision in your life where you've been struggling to know what you want. Don't solve it. Just bring it into your awareness. What do I want? What do they want? What choices honor me? You don't need the perfect answer. You only need the next honest answer. Take another slow breath. And remind yourself, I don't have to make a decision from fear. I don't have to make decisions to keep someone else happy. I can choose from clarity. Take a deep breath in and slowly release it. Begin noticing the room around you, the surface underneath you, the sounds around you. Move your fingers gently. Move your toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Take this final thought with you. You are not required to choose from the options someone else gives you. Sometimes you can create your own choice, and sometimes your choice is simply to walk away. All right. Wiggle your toes, fingers, open your eyes, and be in the present moment. I have 5 journal prompts for you. Take your time with these. You don't have to answer all 5 today. 1. What choices have I made in my life because I genuinely wanted them? What choices did I make because I was afraid of someone's reaction? 2. When someone gives me options, do I ever stop to consider whether there's another option they aren't presenting? 3. What do I want right now that may be different from what someone else wants for me? 4. Where in my life am I still over-explaining my decisions because I'm looking for permission or approval? 5. If I trusted in myself more, what decisions might I make differently? I'm making a call to action for all you. If this episode resonated with you, I want you to do something simple. Take one decision you're currently facing and write down 2 things. What do I want? And what does someone else want from me? Then look at the 2 answers without judging yourself. If they're different, that's okay. You don't have to make somebody else's desire your responsibility. And if this conversation helped you see something differently, share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. Follow the podcast. Join me for my conversations about healing, boundaries, self-trust, clarity, and learning how to create a life that actually belongs to you. I want to leave you with this. Learning how people work isn't about becoming more powerful over the people. It's about becoming more aware of what's happening around you. Because when you understand the flinch, you can pause. When you pause, you can think. When you think, you can choose. And when you choose consciously, you begin taking pieces of your life back. Maybe that's what healing really is sometimes. Not becoming somebody completely new, but finally getting the opportunity to make choices that the old version of you never felt safe enough to make. So remember, you don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't have to choose between the options somebody else gives you. And you don't have to keep choosing survival when you finally have the opportunity to choose yourself. Until next time, remember, clarity gives you choices. Boundaries protect those choices. And trusting yourself gives you the freedom to make them. I'll see you next time.